Welcome into the Talkin Tide podcast on the Reier on YouTube channel. I'm Chase Goodbread, sports columnist with the Tuscaloosa News, joined by Travis Reier. You need to punch that like button, punch that subscribe button on Reier on YouTube. Some fantastic content there, as always, including the Talkin Tide podcast, which, of course, has been around for hell, Travis, 10 years.
A couple Olympics at least.
Yeah, it goes back.
Yeah,
It goes back.
yeah,
No doubt about
back
it.
a ways.
And we will discuss Alabama at SEC Media Days, kind of preview what's ahead for the Crimson Tide in the 2025 season. Practice getting underway here in roughly a week or so, maybe a little bit more, Travis. But it's been a minute since you and I got together. I think maybe our last pod here on Talkin Tide was post-spring. So a little catching up to do.
Yeah, some NCAA tournament probably was a part of that too. Last time we got together here on the old channel. But it's getting close, man. Roughly a week away until you're on the grass there in Tuscaloosa with the second edition of Kalen DeBoer football at the Capstone. So coming off SEC Media Days, I know you made that annual trek this time to Atlanta. Some things to sort of put a bow on, I guess, after that event, and looking ahead again to just a real different era of college football, but I don't think it's changed the anticipation all that much.
Yeah, one day for me over in Atlanta, obviously the day that Alabama showed up on Wednesday, it gets just a little bit more sanitized every year. Like you think it reaches a point where it can't be any more sanitized, and then the next year they show you no, it can be a little more sanitized.
Yeah, certainly not the days of the old Sheraton in downtown Birmingham from 100 years ago.
Yeah, we're a little bit past Phil Fulmer being served a summons.
Well, just the news
upon arrival.
Yeah, the newsy nature of it, what it used to present from that perspective is kind of given way to SEC spring meetings now. I mean, if you really want to come away feeling like you've, gone home with a couple of nuggets maybe in your back pocket, it's more about Destin than it is anywhere they have SEC Media Days. But I've always said this. I love what it represents, SEC Media Days. It means we're on approach to another college football season, and hey, even better, I'm around to see it, so that's a good thing. We're around to see it. But you get the media vote, those type of things that gets people's ears perked up. And look, we're still trying to figure out how this playoff's going to look moving forward, Chase. I know you've written about that. How many teams in this next playoff? Are we going to go to 9 conference games? And it doesn't sound like we've cleared up really any of that in the last week or so.
No, that's definitely a muddled picture. No question about it. I think specifically to Alabama, if there was any one thing that was significant to come out of SEC Media Days that's relevant to what's going to happen on the field, to me, it was it was Deontay Lawson's assertion that he's good to go on the knee. Right,
that's something, man.
I mean, there was nothing about anything that was said by DeBoer or any Alabama player other than Lawson say. And you know what? He didn't say word for word, I'm back by the opener. He didn't say word for word, I'm back by the start of fall practice. Maybe he's in a black jersey to start the first few days. Who knows? But what he was clear about was, I'm going to be on the field for Florida State.
Yeah.
That's what he.
Well, and that in and of itself will be pretty amazing, even in this time of advanced technology and guys getting back quicker and quicker. It tells me that it must have been pretty much the ACL, because if this was a Dante Hightower in 2009 triad type of thing where everything went out, right. I mean, it took Hightower, and I get it. That was 15, 16 years ago, and advancements have been made amazingly. But, that was really a 2-year thing for Dante almost to get
It was.
Back. I mean, 2010, he wasn't close. when he came back from that 09 injury. But Deontay, that's great news. And look, he needs to be in a black jersey when it gets underway next week. This isn't a guy that needs the reps, from a mental perspective. He's going to be just fine. Now, in the lead up, you're going to want to get him closer and closer because there's certainly going to be a change in terms of the tempo of an actual game versus practice and those type of things. But that's where his experience should help too, right? I mean, what you've got, and he knows what he needs to do in terms of running that defense.
No doubt about it. He's the green dot guy. Let's not forget that. He's the one who's going to be communicating with Kane Womack as a defensive coordinator. He knows where to line guys up. He can do it quickly. He's a heck of a recognition guy. On top of that, he's a playmaker. He's the guy. And I thought Travis, and I'm skewing our topic just a little bit here, not too much, but I don't know if you caught this or not. 2025 was the first time in SEC Media Days history that Alabama's defense did not have a first-team preseason media pick.
Yep.
I think they had there were plenty of guys picked. I want to say half a dozen guys on the defense chosen for second or third team. Nobody for first team. That's the first time since they started balloting media at SEC Media Days that there have been no first teamers from Alabama. And my thought and comment on that was, look, if there should have been a first teamer, it should have been Lawson.
Yeah.
But I can understand why there wasn't, because he blew his knee out not in September, but in November
at OU. Yeah, absolutely. And look, there was heavy representation on that second team. 4 guys on the second team had good representation on the third team defense as well. And, what we've heard this entire offseason from independent outlets from the Alabama beat is that this defense should be among the nation's very best with what's coming back, with Tim Keenan up front, LT Overton, and Lawson coming back. That secondary, getting Keon Sabb back to go along with Bray Hubbard, who looks to be emerging back there at safety. Damani Jackson comes back. It's a good-looking group. It's a great-looking group on paper. And so, with Lawson, too, you think about that opener against Gus, and he's going to have that speedball offense going. Gus is going to have the Knowles going fast. And so that'd be a real benefit to have a guy like Lawson there kind of directing traffic if he's able to do it.
Given Lawson's recovery and as we noted, he expects to be on the field against Florida State. I expect him to be effective out of the gate. If he's not, he's not. Maybe it takes him a month to shake some rust off. But
if you felt that strongly about it, would you have gone portal at his position? I mean, at the time that they did that, Alabama did that and went to get a veteran out of the portal at the linebacker position. I think it was smart because it was still you weren't that far removed from the injury because, as you said, that was November, and you're getting into January. You got to know what you've got there, even with Justin Jefferson coming back at inside linebacker. But it'll be a heck of a story if he's able to pull it off and be that guy and not really show noticeable effects, because Gus will have him schemed up. When Gus Malzahn hears that, Gus Malzahn loves to use those backs in different ways too. And so that perimeter game and a lot of that stuff, jets and things like that'll be a way that I'm sure Gus will be checking under Deontay Lawson's hood early in that game in Tallahassee.
No doubt. And when we talk about the importance of depth at various positions, look, you better have 3 corners that can play. You better have 2 backs, and you better have 3 inside linebackers. Yep. Because if you only got 2, you're probably going to have somebody that's not ideal for early downs and late downs, right?
No doubt.
if you got 3 inside linebackers who can play, And the addition of Nikhil Green coming out of Colorado gave Alabama that third inside linebacker. And Nick Saban used to talk about this even in his defenses. You want 3 inside linebackers that you can kind of rotate and roll around and drop into the game situationally, as opposed to just rolling with 2 ILBs all day.
Yeah, and you cross-train them at both spots. So your third guy is capable of jumping in at either position if it comes down to it. And Hill Green's a guy that you would think by the start of the season, if he isn't already there already, he'll be able to green dot. This is a veteran guy.
Right.
So you shouldn't feel like if you're Kane Womack, you can't put that on him too.
No doubt about it. Nikhil Green was Colorado's green dot. Justin Jefferson got a little run as the green dot post injury on Lawson, if I'm not mistaken, if not even maybe a little bit before. So, and in practice. So
I'm in the Iron Bowl. Yeah,
they're in good shape there. I don't think there's any question about it. Is there? Let's just say, Travis, that Alabama's defense, as good as it is, as good as we expect it to be, as experienced as it is, let's say there's not a superstar in September on this defense, and it's really just by committee. And when I look at what they've got coming back at all 3 levels, I see a hell of a defense coming back, whether they got a superstar or not.
Yeah. I think it could play out that way. But I think if they are what a lot of folks are expecting them to be, they'll end up having a couple of first-team guys. I mean, you just don't see defenses that follow through on expectations and then come December don't have a LT Overton. I kind of said last season he was kind of all A-day, because an A-day, if you get close to the quarterback, it's a sack.
Right.
He had a lot of 8A sacks last season, but if he has actual sacks or more of those this year, negative play production, he's a guy that comes to mind pretty quickly. You hope for Deontay Lawson, he's one of those guys, because the expectation prior to that injury was that he was probably moving on to professional football. So you want him to position himself coming off an injury like that as well as he can for his future, even beyond Alabama. But yeah, as far as this season, that's what it feels like, at least going into it, is that it's the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. But again, at every level, you see PFF, you see these outlets that say with these grades and things like this, Bray Hubbard, Keon Sabb, maybe the best safety tandem in college football in 2025. It's been an all SEC offseason for the Alabama defense, even if it didn't show up on the first team in Atlanta.
Yeah, maybe the best safety tandem in all of college football, and yet I believe the third team, not second team, the third team preseason was those 2 guys, right? Those were the 2. So, gonna be fun to keep an eye on. If Alabama gets to the last third of the season and Lawson and Overton, who you just mentioned, have emerged as the real stalwarts and playmakers and monsters in the that's going to be a positive sign.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
And I think Keon Sabb potentially could be a guy who jacks his stock up for sure by the end of the season. So going to be fun to watch, but early in the year, Travis, so let's go ahead and jump to the offense a little bit. As long as I think this defense is capable and maybe needed to carry things a little bit the first few weeks, first month, whatever.
I don't know if I'm in line with that. I guess I'm pretty well in on Ty Simpson.
Are you?
Now, I don't know if that's factoring into you and you're thinking of maybe the offense, especially with the opener at Florida State on the road, might have a few hiccups. I feel comfortable with him. Now, I'm not saying he's going to wow you with maybe throws that you saw or individual efforts that you saw from, say, Tua or a Bryce Young even. maybe even athletically in terms of Jalen Milroe. But I guess what I look at first and foremost with a new starting quarterback at a place like Alabama is, does it feel like the job is too big for him? And I don't get that sense with him, not as of yet. Now, it may prove me wrong on that Saturday of Labor Day weekend in Tally, but I feel pretty good about him. I think that they have the pieces in place to really, really do good things right out of the gate. Doesn't mean I think they're going to go to Doak Campbell and score 40. I'm not convinced of that, but you think about around the quarterback, Chase. And I like what Ryan Grubb brings to this offense, not because I think he's going to draw it up better or game plan better or call it better on game days than Nick Sheridan did. I just feel like there's going to be a real sense of accountability for everybody on that side of the football. And I think that's going to play down into the positional coaches and help them do their jobs. And I've got pretty high expectations. Again, I'm not saying they're going to score a 500 in week one, but I won't be surprised if they're 35 plus in that game.
Right. You know, I'll say this offensively. I think Ryan Grubb can be better when it comes to drawing it up. He may need to be better when it comes to drawing it up. I think he will be.
Yeah.
Now when it comes to Simpson and the personnel around him, to me is offensively for Alabama. It's more than just is Simpson ready, and whether Simpson is ready is a huge part of it. And if no moment is too big for Ty Simpson, that's going to be a huge plus for Alabama. That being said, can we count on the right tackle spot? Can we count on the WR3? Can we count on the RB1 even?
Yeah.
Right? There are a couple spots that you wonder, is Alabama going to be average or are they going to be plus?
Yeah, I think I feel good about pretty much all of those. Now, I'm a Wilkin Formby fan because he's a Tuscaloosa guy. Kind of watched him early on in his football development and just was so impressed how he was really a self-made player. I don't think he has to be, he doesn't have to be J.C. Latham at right tackle. He can be kind of Drew Davis, I think, in this offense, and they can be okay.
Right.
I know that's pulling one from the way back, but Drew Davis, when Nick Saban came in, and what they were able to do in that 09 offense.
Yeah.
08, 09, I guess. But, I wanted to get your thoughts. I know it made for good media days, right, with Caden Proctor there. And, man, he was great. He was great for what you want him to be at that event. What did you think of him saying he's actually gained weight and he's going to look to lose a pretty good bit before the season starts? Did that ring of the offseason maybe that you had anticipated for him? And understanding he's a massive individual. He's just a big human being. I get all that. And I'm not trying to play too much. I've said, though, on multiple occasions going back to January, for Caden Proctor, to me, this was clearly the biggest offseason of his college career so far. The first year, he had the weird thing with Iowa and bounced back and didn't really have a spring. Then he was limited at best this past spring. I don't know. I still think he's very deserving of preseason first team All SEC. I just was thinking if he's going to be one of these 3 and outs, if he's going to be Cam Robinson, if he's going to be Jonah Williams, those kind of guys before him, we might see a considerably different type of guy going into the season. I don't know. Maybe we still will. Those comments were interesting to me.
So he's going into his 3rd season at Alabama.
Yeah.
And we don't have any idea what he would look like at 340 because he ain't never cut to 340.
And then look, some guys like DJ Fluker and some of these guys, they just weren't going to be those guys. I get that. I get it. And I'm not saying that I'm thinking Caden Proctor could be a problem for this offense. I think he's going to be a clear strength. We're both in the same boat about more worried about the other side than I am Caden Proctor. I just thought it was interesting. And I loved it at the same time because Krispy Kreme, all these things, Taco Casa, all this stuff. I mean, who doesn't love talk? Look at me.
Sure.
I mean, I obviously love talking about it, but just from a perspective of his development and thinking about that run that Alabama has had over the last 15, 18 years at that position, it's just going to be interesting to see, regardless if he's 370 or if he's 345, can he take another step and sort of validate this preseason talk that he's going to be perhaps a top 10 draft pick? You know?
He's a good football player who I don't know whether he'll be great. It sounds like you don't know whether he'll be great either, but we both, I think, agree that good is the bottom for him, right?
Yeah,
Good
high
is
floor. Yeah.
No doubt about it. But I hear you. I mean, I'd be looking at him differently going into the season if he had shown up in Atlanta and said, "Yeah, I'm 335."
Yeah.
And the one reason I say that is, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, this offense, and especially with Ryan Grubb in charge, this offense pulls tackles. Everybody pulls. It's not just guard. It's not just interior linemen that pull in the Grubb offense. Everybody's pulling. Everybody's moving. Everybody's getting out on screens. All that stuff.
I'm expecting much more quick game than what we saw with Milroe.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and look, Proctor can probably do it, but man, at 370 or so,
tough. It's tough. And lest we forget, Travis, 12 months ago, Tyler Booker, albeit at a different position at guard.
Yeah.
Lest we forget, shed 25 pounds because he knew what was coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing with DeBoer coming in. There was so much talk about the Washington offensive lines and how tackles were, 310. I mean, Brailsford played center at Washington at what, 270?
Right.
So, yeah, it is. It's definitely a different approach. Again, I expect that Caden Proctor will be a really good football player for Alabama this fall. What I'm interested in seeing is, does he take that next step to great, or maybe it requires another year? Maybe ends up being a 4-year guy. This is obviously a big stretch in how all that's probably going to play out.
No question about it. What about special teams, Travis? We'll touch on that here for a minute. New kicker, new punter. The return talent appears to be pretty much back between Ryan Williams and Jalen Mbakwe. But fresh starts for the true specialists. What about it?
Yeah. I like the specialists. I like the special teams. And man, you're replacing all three from a year ago. I like that Talty had another year to kind of get himself ready for this year, because we've seen kickers, no one thinks about it with that position. You just think, well, they'll come in from high school and be 4-year guys. They're not all that way. I mean, Will Reichard was kind of that guy, but he had the injury too early in his career, the hip injury that kind of set him back. So, it can happen that, it's the best thing even for some of those guys to have a year. That's what was one of the benefits of going to the portal last year. You kind of gave Talty a bridge year. And so it'll be interesting. I don't worry about snappers. When's the last time you heard of Alabama? Man, they got a new snapper and it just isn't working. I mean, these guys are so good at what they do. Right. In places like Alabama, get the very best of the best. They're almost programmed how they deliver on punts and extra point and field goals. It's a little different for kickers in trying to guide that thing between the sticks and in Death Valley on a Saturday night. Punters kind of the same thing, but I suspect they'll be okay. Again, you never know. That's the thing, especially with kickers. You just don't know until you put them out there. And there's pressure and there's 4 guys coming off the edge and there's 3 seconds left, and you don't know until you put them out there.
There's a huge difference between the pressure of sticking the ball through the uprights for 3 points late in the game and just being a good kickoff guy. That said,
yep,
you're the specialist expert. You tell me if I'm wrong. But to me, Travis, it's big for Connor Talty going into 2025 that he was the kickoff guy all year last year.
Yeah.
I don't think that's even though he wasn't the field goal guy.
Yeah.
To me, it can be really helpful to him that he was the kickoff guy all year last year. Yes or no?
Yeah, I agree. That's what I liked about last year for him. He had some of the responsibility there, like you talked about with kickoffs, but totally different deal, man. When you're charged with, again, making kicks in big spots. And so, I mean, we've seen some kickers in the past at Alabama. You go back 10 years or so, where it just never totally worked out. It wasn't terrible, as some people might try to convince you, but I like that he's had some time to develop, like any other positional player would have. So, yeah, I mean, he's a third-year guy now. He was highly coveted coming out of high school up in the Chicago area. Connor Talty was. And so, I would think he would handle it well at this point. But it's just, once again, it's just one of those you don't know until it's real.
If you're the kickoff guy, but not the field goal guy, and the call from the sideline is not some kind of, sky kick or not some kind of corner kick or whatever.
Right.
Mentally, are you trying to split the uprights just for next year?
Why not? Work on your accuracy on your kickoffs too. The way these guys now, man, it's crazy the way these guys can kick a football. The NFL, they went with the K-ball, they called it years ago, where it's basically they take a damn football out of the box, put air in it, and put it in the game. That's what you kick, which means you don't get to break it in. You don't really get to mess with it, kind of get it the way you like it. That's what trips me out about high school kicking, going back to a few years ago, when our daughter did it. And she said, Dad, I get to pick the ball that I want to kick on every extra point and every field goal. She would literally be on the sideline with this damn ball that was great for kicking. She would run her ball out, hand it to the official. They'd put it in the game.
Right.
I had no idea that's how it worked. It ain't that way in the NFL. I don't think it's that way really in college as much either. But yeah, I mean, there's just different facets to it. And, Talty's got all the ability. I mean, he's not at Alabama because he's noodle legged. But my thinking is that look, what you want him doing, obviously, is kicking a lot of extra points. And so with this offense and these pieces, there should be motivation for this offense too. I was going to ask you about that. I mean, Jeremy Bernard, he didn't make any of the 3 teams, did he? As a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it from that perspective too.
Obviously the NFL wasn't crazy about him either. He'd have been gone.
No, but I think you asked earlier about wide receiver 3. I mean, I think with Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, I mean, those first 3, and then potentially a guy like Rico Scott emerging.
Right.
They're going to be really tough to defend. And again, I truly believe they're going to be able to get the ball to those guys in some more different ways than they were a year ago. I don't think the lack of a quick game in the passing game the last year or two has probably been talked about enough as making it a lot harder on the offense. Now, you kind of countered that with a quarterback who could go 80 too at different times. You're not going to necessarily have that at quarterback. But man, when you can get the ball out quick and get it to some of these playmakers that you've got, you can get some easy explosives off of that. Justin Summerlin checking in here in the show chat. Justin says, "What up, Travis? Roll damn Tide." I think Justin, in all caps, Goodbread, He's in game week mode. He's ready to
ready.
go. Thanks for checking in, Justin. We appreciate it.
He's ready right now. Yeah. And when it comes to the quick game too, Travis, I also think that kind of ties in with what we heard going back to the spring from Kalen DeBoer, that we're going to see some Ryan Williams in the slot this year, which is a little different. Last year, he was, as a freshman, he was pretty much stuck on the outside. You drop Ryan Williams into the slot for, doesn't even have to be half of his reps. Let's just say it's a third of his reps or a quarter of his reps. That's going to help your quick game because he's going to be able to get open right now.
Yeah, and you can throw him the bubbles out of stuff like that. And also, you get you get him matched up against a third safety or a third corner at that star or that nickel position.
Right.
Yeah, you can hurt some people doing that. And Justin chiming in here again says Ryan Grubb is an eye candy freak. He will feed everybody Goodbread. Justin's ready, man. I love it. I love it. I love the juice. Justin with the juice on a Tuesday night in late July.
A lot of motion with Ryan Grubb for sure.
Yep.
Historically, he's like that 12 personnel. But are we going to see two tights all the time with Ryan Grubb? I don't know. Maybe.
I think it'll be a really good mix. I do. I think it'll be a really good mix. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I don't think it'll be 80-20 or 75-25. Now, 60-40 maybe one way, 55-45. I still think there'll be some balance there. David Dalrymple checking in here says, I am overconfident as always. Love it, Dave. Hey,
I would describe that as self-awareness.
What do you think though, in terms of going into the second season in Kalen DeBoer, because you're there on a daily basis? Do you get the thought that maybe it's going to be different in terms of his accessibility? I mean, he was ultra accessible in year one, and I got that to an extent. There was some of it that made me go, that's a lot. He's not saying no to all that much. Do you get the sense that there will be more no's in year two under Kalen DeBoer?
Talking about media
just
request
everything.
no's? Yeah.
Just.
You know what? I don't expect. Let me back up. I do expect the week-to-week DeBoer availability to be the same and no worse. And what I mean by that is he'll go 15 or 20 minutes on Monday instead of Nick Saban's 5 to 7 minutes.
Right.
He'll go maybe later in the week a little longer. He'll go 15 plus minutes game day, as opposed to Nick Saban going 5 to 7 minutes on game day. All that I expect to be the same. Now, is he going to be sitting down with everybody who got him to sit down a year ago? No. You know I'm talking about.
I mean, last year he was on radio shows so much. I thought he was the weather and traffic person on the 20s. I this offseason, I haven't heard or seen that much of it like we did a year ago.
I think they're going to ratchet him back a little bit in terms of like total number of interviews.
I mean, you kind of have to.
Yeah. But I do think he's clearly really good about sitting there and taking it when he does get to the microphone.
Yeah.
At least in front of the media pool.
He doesn't run from it.
No. And he doesn't always have the right answer.
No. And he'll tell you he may not have the right answer.
But he'll stand there and take the questions. As a reporter, you got to appreciate that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how that whole thing works in year two. The fans, as we've seen here in the show chat, Dave and Justin, they're confident. They're confident. I was thinking about this today. We're going on 5 years without a national championship at Alabama. seems like a long, long time, doesn't it?
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
But
I look at that timeline from 2020 to 2025, and I've written about this multiple times in the Tuscaloosa News, one of the things that stands out to me is if you're going to try to put your finger on a reason why Alabama hadn't been a national champion since 2020, it's been a slow and fairly steady decline offensive line wise. The last completely dominant Alabama offensive line to me was 2020. And I'm not going to say it slipped progressively every single year since then, because I think there's been a little bit of up and down in there somewhere. But for the most part, from 2020 to 2025, the decline in that unit to me has been as noticeable or more noticeable than the decline in any unit.
yeah, Saban's last year, 2023, I don't recall that offensive line being up to what we had seen previously. I'll tell you something I did a week or so ago. I went back and pretty much watched 2013, 2012, 2013, and even 2013 after Jeff Stoutland went to the Eagles. You know, he was the offensive line coach at Alabama 11 and 12, and those groups were just amazing. But even that 2013 group was pretty damn good. You had the Quanjos on the left side. I think Steen was still at right guard. I'm thinking there. Boy, Ryan Kelly at center. The things they could do with that guy from
Right.
the center position, it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, no doubt. The Vallejos Kelly years at center were good to Alabama for a couple guys who weren't
No,
5-star recruits.
no, I mean, you know, some of those guys, you know, I guess Saban would have recruited, but yeah, I mean, you can talk multiple positions uh, on those first couple of teams. That's what made that '09 team so special too, was that was a lot of guys that were inherited and still developed because, you know, a guy like Corey Reamer in 2009, once Dante went out against Arkansas pretty early in that season with that
Yeah.
knee injury on that cut block. Those were guys like Corey and Javier Arenas. I mean, Javier Arenas was a 5'9" corner, and Nick don't recruit many of those, you know, 6 foot and up pretty much. But yep, those were the days for sure. You know, we're only 2 years into Kalen DeBoer, and we're talking like it was 20 years ago already, right?
That's what we're old heads. We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. We can wax poetic, you know, or something like that, I guess, anyway. Shane Bland checking in here in the show chat says, better late than never, fellas. After the band show, I can't afford to miss another live show. A lot depends on Ty, but do we see this more with ball control? I don't know, because when I think ball control, Chase, I think you're going to commit to a back that's going to run it 200 plus times in a season. You know, we did see Washington a couple of years ago run it successfully. I don't, but the thing too that I don't think about when I think Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb is fastball. You know, I don't see where they're trying to click off plays every 15 seconds either. You know, it's not necessarily a up tempo offense all the time. And, you know, I think that as much as anything, what can hurt you is when you got guys like Ryan Williams, they don't believe in ball control, Chase. They're looking to take it 80 every time they get a chance to touch it.
They do, and I think Ryan Grubb plays a role there in terms of play calling and what he likes to do. I think Jam Miller is a good football player, but I do not put him in the class with most of Nick Saban's
No,
RB1s,
no,
right?
he's not Ingram, he's not Henry, obviously, but I like Jam Miller a lot because of something you said earlier. Can you count on him? And I think you can
Yeah.
count on Jam Miller. I'm not saying he's going to be a 6 yards per carry guy, he's probably more twitchy and big play capable than he gets credit for. It's just not very flashy, which I like. I like that he sticks a foot in the ground and is decisive. And I just, I think a couple of things. I think there's the potential, again, for the running game to be plenty good enough. Maybe it's more situational than it is, consistent. But as a part of all that, too, I still think the quick game to the wide receivers is going to be kind of that extension of it, too.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what I was just about to mention. I mean, we talk about ball control in 2025. Ball control in a lot of offenses all over the country is how well do you get it to the slot guy? How well do you get it to the back in the passing game? How well do you block on the perimeter when you throw the ball to the flat, no matter who receives it?
Right.
And so, if those things are in place for Alabama, they don't need Jam Miller to run for 1,100 yards to control the ball.
Is it Dylan Johnson for Washington a couple of years ago that was the back?
Yeah.
That they really leaned on, and he was the Mississippi State transfer. He had a great year, really good year. Now, they had a lot of injuries that year, I think, at the running back position. So by the end of that run to the national championship game, he had literally nothing left, even in the national championship game, as I recall. The good thing about this group, Chase, is it looks like you can legitimately go 3-4 deep, if you want to, and you can sort of mix and match depending on exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish.
No doubt. When I watched that Washington offense that featured Johnson in the backfield with Ryan Grubb as the play caller, one thing I noticed was, and I want to say he ran for 1,100 plus. I mean, it was a big year for Johnson.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
He got pretty much all the carries.
He got them all. There's no doubt. A ton of it was shotgun draw, basically, like the 4 wide, empty the box, get the box as light as you can get the box, right? Line up in the shotgun.
You had those wide, like Alabama. You had those wide receivers and Penix, triggering it. I mean, you had to give up. You had to give up something. And you're right.
Is Alabama a little bit more downhill with Jam Miller or not?
Well, I think that's kind of his style. Is north south pretty quick, and I think that works. I think that works in this offense. I'm pulling it up here. Dylan Johnson. It looks like the running back position had about 200. This was in 15 games in 2023.
Right.
Looks like the running back position had around 310, 320, 330. About 330 carries for the Washington running backs in 2023. Dylan Johnson had 233 of them. So he was getting them. 1195, and again, they had some injuries.
And
he averaged
Penix went down, that counted for one.
So but what I like is he had 16 rushing touchdowns. So that tells me red zone, those type of things. They were able to finish drives with the back like that. He also had, he had only 24 receptions. Dylan Johnson in 14 games. He missed a game with injury. But it's fascinating to consider kind of the workload and how this thing might be dispersed. Situationally, they might be inclined, and they got a big back, right? And Daniel Hill, he's a guy that if you want to lean on people, maybe he's slimmed down some, but big dude that can get behind his pads, and Daniel Hill maybe that impacts this thing too. Richard Young, big time back coming out of the high school ranks a few years back. State of Florida, some good things there. It's a good situation at running back.
Going to be a lot of fun. We've run a little long than normal here, Travis, on the Talkin Tide podcast, coming up on 45 minutes.
They're still coming in. We love it. Thanks everyone for chiming in, checking in here live. We appreciate it.
Good time. It's been a minute. Glad to run a little long since it's been a while. That'll wrap it up for the Talkin Tide podcast on the Reier on YouTube channel. For Travis Reier, I'm Chase Goodbread, sports columnist with the Tuscaloosa News. You'll see a little bit more of us as the season approaches. Looking forward to it. Signing off right here for Talkin Tide.